Good morning. All right, today we're going to talk about coil pots. And there's all kinds of possibilities with coil pots. Some people make coil pots and leave the coils on the outside for decoration. Some just use it as a way to make a hand-built pot that goes in and out. The coil is really the placement of the clay. So you can take a pot and you can go out and you can go in, you can go up and you can go out just by the placement of the coils. So we have several books in our library as far as, can we see those? Okay, so that you guys can be able to check out. And so you can see like this one, we've got several books that are in our library that have step-by-step. Here's one. Can you see that in the camera? Is that high enough? Okay, so it kind of shows you step-by-step. And so we're gonna talk about first today, how to make a coil, and then how to make a simple pinch pot, and then possibilities of whether you want to make it just free flowing or you might want to put it inside another pot. You can do that. All right, so the first thing that you want to do when you make coils is that you start by the same thing we did before, kneading it, and then we're going to make coils. So we're going to change the camera now just for a second so they can get down where you can see my hands a little bit better. Okay, so just start with a hunk of clay. You've kneaded it, and you're gonna kind of roll it out. You can take your hands, like this part right of your hands, and use that as kind of the rolling. Now, the things you wanna avoid is you don't wanna do like this. You don't wanna go real fast. Slow and steady wins the race in clay. So you're just gonna start by pushing down and gently pulling out. Pushing down and gently pulling out. So we're going pushing and out, pushing and out, just gentle, and it'll get a little bit bigger, and then you can take that in half, gentle pulling out, and just getting smaller. You can go back and forth, but just not real fast. So you start in the middle and you're working your way out. Now, ideally, we want our coils to be about the thickness of our little finger. And that's a little bigger than 1/4 of an inch, but you'll see why in a minute, why that will work. All right, so now we're gonna just start with a coil pot. We're just gonna make a base however big we want it to be. All right, I think we're gonna make it about that big. All right, now I've made some others. So when you start to go up on a coil pot, check and see if this is still in the space. All right, so when you want to go up on a coil pot, you're going to stick it right here and you're going to make a little slide, okay? And we're going to kind of make it go all the way around the pot. And then we can go up that slide. And this is a coil pot that's just going straight up. All right, so we've got a coil pot that's just going straight up. Now, you can leave the coils on the outside or you can smooth them down, but you have to at least smooth the inside or the outside, or if you want to leave the coils both ways, then you have to cross-hatch these. But another way of connecting the clay together is to take, and you have these, and you just take your thumb and you're going to smooth out these coils. And when you're doing that, you're bringing the clay down and up to share those coils together. And you can use your thumb, or you can use a tool like this. You can just take and you can bend it up and down and do it like that. And that, so if you want to have it nice and smooth, you can use a wooden tool. I prefer just using my fingers, but you can also see that when you do clay, you have to cut your fingernails, because if you have really long fingernails, it's very hard to work with clay. So you can just kind of smooth that inside and outside. Now, when you're working with coils, you can make them really, really tall, but you have to kind of do it a little at a time, because you can only smooth, if you're using your fingers, the length of your thumb. So you have to kind of smooth out the bottom part of your coils so that it can start getting leather hard and be able to support the weight of a very high pot. So see, I'm starting to smooth, and this is something you can do while you're talking to your neighbor, so it doesn't have to, it just takes a while. It's not going to be a real fast process. And if you want to do the outside, you just have to smooth the outside. All right, so now we're going to talk about how you could go out or in with a coil pot, so you can be able to make different shapes. So we're going to pretend like I've got it all smoothed out, and we're going to add to it. So we have our start of our coil pot, and we're going to take another coil and we're going to make another slide, but we're going to make this now go out. Okay, so we're going to set it here, and we place the coil on the outside of the pot. So we're placing that clay on the outside. That was a little skinnier one. Outside of the pot. So see how we placed it on the outside? So instead of putting it right straight on top, then you just begin to smooth again. So that makes it go out. So you've placed the coils so it's going out. And then if you place it on the inside of the coil, that's what we're going to show you next, then your coil pot would go in. So again, we're going to pretend like we have it all smoothed, and we're going to take another coil and set it down, and if we want our pot to go back in, then we would set it here, and we would place that coil on the inside of the pot. So we would place that clay on the inside of the pot. And you can see how it's starting to go in. Okay, so I'm going to stop this for a minute, smooth this out, and then I'm going to show you some decorative techniques. Okay, so you're going to need to work with both hands together. So like if you're smoothing, if you just smooth from the inside, you can bend that pot out. So you've got to hold your hand and then smooth so that you're putting pressure on both sides so that you don't deform your pot. If you need it to be just a little bit, you can take your hands and kind of compress it together to kind of every once in a while move it around and compress it together if it starts coming out a little bit. And then if your top isn't even and you want to do something else with it, this tool is called a probe. And you can just take this and cut around the top part so that you can make it be even. Because when you do all that, it may not be even as far as if you're wanting to add some design. And so then you can take, if you want to add a design, you can take this coil and you can make sure that it's kind of even, and you can attach it, and you can maybe make a design like this and go around. And so you can add decoration to your coil pot that is coiled if that's your desire. Or you could just make it be straight up and down. So you can kind of see how you could take this and squish it together to make a design. And then you would have to take the same thing. You'd have to take your hand and you'd have to smooth that out so that it would be attached. Maybe after you do that whole thing, then you could take and make another piece of coil that go across the top little bigger piece. And you can do that all the way around. And so you can build your coil pot up where you smooth it out, or you can add coils. If you wanted to add something else, you can take and make little balls and put in between them and make different designs, as long as you be able to smooth at least the inside or the outside so that it's attached, because right now if it's not attached, this would just come off. So if we put this in the kiln this direction without any kind of attaching, then when it's dry and it's fired, it would just fall apart. So that's a coil pot with a design. I want to show you one more variation. So we're going to put that aside. Sometimes if you just want to make a pot that has a lot of different coils in it, but you want it to be a standard size, you can take another mold. And so the terracotta pots are wonderful because you don't even have to spray them or anything to keep it from attaching, because it's clay and it will tend to dry it out really easy. But you can put different designs in it, so when you take it out, you'll have those designs. So if you wanted to do like little coils like this, you could attach it inside. You could just set it inside the pot, make another coil, or you can run it around, and like that could be to the side. It's going to be a big one. We're going to put it in here. Put the big one in first, and then we'll go back for the other ones. Maybe you want to put a different kind of design. And then fill in with some spaces. With your coils. And you can make little holes to fill in the extra part. Then when you get it all in the pot, you can just smooth it with your fingers. And after you smooth it, then we will let it dry for a little bit, and it'll pop out. And I'll show you in a little bit what that's going to look like. Okay, so I put it outside for a while. It's had a chance to dry. Then we just dump it, and it comes out of the pot. And you can see our designs. You can make them more elaborate, but you can see some of those, and you can leave those as far as the design. Then you could take a rasp and just kind of be able to pull off some of these other extra edges. Or you can just take your finger, because it's still soft enough, and smooth out the top. All right, so tomorrow we're going to talk about slabs. So don't forget to wash your hands. Bye-bye.